everyone. Well, I've got a day and a half fishing on a lake that's so special to me. You know, I've done some serious fish off this lake over the years. We've got a day and a half fishing. So hopefully I'm going to get a big fish out, or at least some fish. I'll show you how I approach the water, how I approach every water that I fish. I'll give you some tactics, some tips, how I use my lures, what I'm doing to get the best out of them. And hopefully we'll put a nice video for you for a couple of a day and a half, 2 days, and hopefully get some nice fish. Right, so I've stopped on this spot. What I like to do when I'm fishing these waters is, I very rarely look for bait shoals. I don't even have a sonar with me. What I do is I fish for features. I fish 2 features. Pike always like sitting on features. So that's where I fish. I target features in the water instead of bait shoals. It can take me a long time to find a bait shoal in the water, and I only get 8 hours of the day to fish. You can spend too much time tracking down bait shoals, whereas I pretty much know this water now. I've fished on it for quite a long time, so I know where all the features are. So I just basically come, position my boat, then I'll be quiet for a while. I don't do any casting until I've let the swim settle with the noise of me coming into it. Then I'll start casting. So I've just got onto the spot now. I've put my anchor down. I'm going to sit now for 5 or 10 minutes. We're not doing anything at all. I'll sort my lures out, what I'm going to use on this feature. Today I'm going to be using mainly soft baits, a little bit of jerk baiting, but I'm going to go through all the soft baits today. Hopefully we can wangle out one of the massive pike that's in this lake. So today I'm going to be using a lot of soft baits. This one, the paddle, is 14 centimetre. Now on these pressured waters, now this is a very pressured water, I generally don't fish with big lures. I think they've seen them all. Now I tend to catch most of my fish on these pressured waters on smaller lures. 14 centimetres, perfect. So we do 14 and we do a 17 centimetre. We also do a 10 and a 7, but on this venue I'm only allowed to use lures that are 5 inches minimum. So the 10 and the 7's too small for here. But basically it's a really easy lure to use. Now they come without the rigging kits. You have to do that yourself. But for me, I would never buy a lure again that's rigged up, ready to go. Simply because of that lure now, as it is, I can fish that lure wherever I want to fish it, whatever depth I want to fish it at in the water. So basically all I'm going to do is change the weight of the head that I put onto it. So if I want to fish it right on the bottom, I'll use a 20-25 gram jig head in the depths that I'm fishing at. We're fishing roughly about 20-foot depths here. If I want to fish it up in the water, the higher up in the water I want to fish the lure, the smaller gram jig head I use. Oh, it's very easy. Now I like using these style jig heads. I don't use the hook on the top, and I'll tell you why in a second. Basically, I just screw the jig head into the shad. It goes straight through the middle of the nose, and then it screws on all the way. And then you're left with that. So basically then what I do is, I fish with a stinger on a release system. So the stinger has a pin attached to it. So the pin then goes into the body of the soft bait, and we're ready to rumble. Now the reason why I like fishing without the stinger hook on the top is, when I catch a fish and the fish then grabs the hook, it pulls away, so the lure is free from the fish's mouth. Now what I do know is that my hook is hooked into the pike. When I have a stinger on top of it, if that stinger doesn't get hooked into the pike, there is a hook loose. So there's a hook free out of the pike's mouth. Now generally, not all the time, but the pike can then use that hook that's free to get away. Now the amount of times that I've seen pike run up the anchor ropes trying to get rid of the lure out of its mouth, I've seen it quite often now. I did used to always use a stinger at the top. When I seen what the pike was doing, when it run up my anchor rope and got rid of the lure, it transferred the hook, the stinger hook, into the rope and then got rid of the other hook. When it was a big fish, I realised I was losing. So anywhere where you fish with snaggy waters, where the snags or anything in the water, if you fish with a single hook, there is a lot less chances of the pike getting rid of it into a rope, into a tree, into any sort of snag that it can get into, because they do try and get rid of it in whichever way possible they can. So when there's only one hook, the hook is in the pike, there's no chance of anything else. So I always get my fish in now, every time. I don't lose them on anything. I'm only fishing with one hook. It's a lot better for the pike. It's easier to unhook with one hook. Absolutely perfect. I love the paddle. There's so much versatility in it. It's a great lure. And on this venue, I've had fish up to 29 pound on this exact lure. Hopefully now we're going to have a good go today and see if we can get a pike to take the lure. Now I know this venue is not an easy venue on lures. I've caught a lot of pike from here, but they've seen nearly every lure that there is to see now. Right, so now my next move, I'm going to have a look if there's any fish really shallow. Now, my biggest tip for anybody pike fishing for big pike, rule number one, and it's my biggest rule: quietness is the key to success for big pike fishing. Now you'll notice on my boat today, I don't have sonar, I don't have electric bow mount motors. And the reason for that is, I know they help me a lot. They help me find features and they help me find all sorts of things. But I know this lake, I know it quite well. I know where basically all of the features in the lake are. I know where the pike like sitting, I know what features they like sitting on. So for me, it's a bit like using a sat nav when you know where you're going. One thing that I don't like them for is the noise that they make in the water. The sonar makes pipping noises. Also, although the electric engines are quiet, they still make a noise under the water. Now, pike that have been fished for, that are really pressured, get used to these noises, and it switches them off. So my way of dealing with this, without having an electric motor, my way of dealing with it is I switch my engine off when I'm probably 50 meters maybe away from the spot that I'm going to sit on. Then I like to row into my spot as quietly as I possibly can, so I'm not alerting any pike that I'm coming to them. So they know the engine, they know the boats, they're scared of the boats, they're scared of the engine noise. So instead of going right into the area, the shallow area that I'm going to fish with the engine on, I'll switch it off right outside of the area and then slowly row into the area that I'm going to fish. And when I get there, I put my anchor down and then I'll sit for 5 minutes without making any noise. And hopefully that gives any pike that maybe have seen us or have heard us coming in a little bit of confidence to not keep their mouths shut. Yep, fish. Ah. Ah. Oh, wait a minute. Tracker jerk bait. Yes. Maybe you can, I don't know. So, it's been a tough day for the first fish. Not one of the lake monsters what I'm used to catching or I like catching the most, but it's a pike on the tracker jerk bait. A nice young double, a young female starting her journey to become a big monster. So the best way for these fish to become big monsters is catch and release. It's getting back in the water as quickly as possible. So, I've just moved spots now. I got a big follow from the same spot. I got a big fish followed me, 25 pound plus. Then I got a double off the spot, off the next drift. So, what I do is, I've had the follow off a fish that I know is really big in there. Now I want to catch that fish. Do I stay in the same area or do I move? Now my thinking is, I don't want to keep showing that pike my lure. So instead of sitting there and casting and casting and casting and casting over it and changing lures and casting and casting and casting, letting that pike know I'm there, and move away from it. So I've come to another spot now. I'm going to fish this spot for 15-20 minutes. That's generally what I'll give each spot. And then I might move to another spot, and then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to go back to the big fish, what I've seen. I want to rest the fish. I find that when I do that, I catch that fish a lot more than when I sit there casting and casting and casting and casting and casting. So I know it seems strange to move away from a big fish that you've seen, but to stop the fish spooking, give it time, give it a little bit of resting time. If you've got 2 days on the water, brilliant, rest it all day long and go back on it tomorrow. But if you've only got the same day on the water, give the spot an hour and a half, 2 hours rest, whatever you can, and then go back and hit it again. And hopefully that following fish, if we do something just a little bit different to the retrieve that we were doing last time, hopefully the fish will take it then. Because the pike, what I find is they get used to lures, they get used to the action, especially when they've been caught on them before. So you're better off mixing up your retrieves, mixing up your speeds. Just do something a bit different to what you did the time before to try and induce the take. So we've come to the end of the first day. Bit of a tough day. I only had one follow, a big follow though, it was a big fish. And then I had another double on the tracker jerk bait. I tried basically all morning on the soft bait, on the straight retrieve bait, but it seemed like the pike wanted it. They didn't want the bait straight, they wanted it moving side to side or up and down. They wanted something a bit different from a straight retrieve. Now, normally I would catch more. Now, straight away I'm going to tell you, bright skies, easterly winds, not my favourite conditions for pike, but at least we've had two show. We've had one out on the boat and we've had one follow the lure. Now I've spoke to a few other people who's been fishing here today and nobody's caught anything, so happy with that. The tracker has caught a fish for me and also showed me where there's another big pike. Now I've got tomorrow to come on as well, so hopefully with a bit of luck that pike, the big pike what I've seen tomorrow, is going to be on my boat. I'm going to do everything possible to catch it. Hopefully it's feeding, or hopefully it will take my lure. I can annoy it enough to take my lure. But with a bit of luck, the conditions are a little bit better tomorrow. Not much better, but it's still being out, the conditions. If it was a day where I was looking, and I probably wouldn't have come out today myself, but it's definitely better than being at work or sitting on my sofa watching the TV. A day out fishing, what more can you ask for in a beautiful place like this? Well, it's day 2. Yesterday was a tough day. It wasn't the easiest day, but I tried my hardest. All right, yeah, got one fish. It was a big follow. I was gutted that didn't take. But today we've got sort of half a day again today. Hopefully, some of the fish will be feeding. The conditions again aren't the best, but you know, while you've got a lure in the water, you've got a chance. So today I'm going to go back on my first spot today. I'm going to go back to where I seen that big fish yesterday. Hopefully it's still in the area. Normally they are still in the area. So if you do see a big fish, you do get follows. Like I say, you're better off leaving that fish alone for to rest it, let it rest. So it's had a full day today, a full day yesterday to get over the fact that someone was fishing for it. Hopefully today I can get it 1 or 2 or 3 casts in my first as soon as I get into the area with a bit of luck. But, so we're going to try some different methods as well today. I'm going to try some spinners and jerk bait in, hopefully try and get one on a soft bait, but yesterday they didn't really want to take the soft baits. So we'll see, we'll chuck a lot at them and see what they do. So I've come to the spot that I seen yesterday, a nice big fish. I've had a good few drifts over it, covered it with a few different lures, the Maori jerk bait, the paddle. I've got the Dr. Bait Junior with a paddle attached to the back. So I've been fishing up and down in the water. I've covered all the depths that's here, and I haven't seen that pike again. Maybe it's here, I don't know, but like today the conditions are a lot different from yesterday. The wind's still in an easterly direction, which isn't the best for pike fishing. But we'll give it a go. We're going to try some other spots now, what I know. Hopefully there is a pike playing ball. But at this moment in time, we just keep trying to search, keep trying to find them. And that's all you can do when there's nothing, when it's not really happening, is just keep moving, spot to spot, keep searching for them pike. So we've come to the end of the second day. It's a tough day today. I never had any fish today, but I had one yesterday in a big follow. It's not a venue where you can come and catch fish after fish after fish after fish. You know, these pike, they've been pressured now. They've seen pretty much everything. Today, it was a tough day, but I've caught plenty of pike before, plenty of big pike. And it's all about, not just about the fishing. Hopefully you can gain some tips and advice from what I've been doing. Put that into practice and you will catch some nice pike in the future. Just keep your confidence, keep your casting, put these tips in any way, shape or form that you can do them, practice them. You will catch more fish in the future, more big pike. And that's what it's all about, putting big pike in the net.